Many times in the scriptures, there are juxtapositions of things that stand out for us, and there are those in today as well as in what we're celebrating this particular Sunday and this particular month. But I just want to note that in the first two readings, there are a couple things in common. There's a lot of people that have come to the Lord. In the first reading, it's Gentiles. The Jews even get jealous of them. But they're there, many of them, and they come to know faith in the Lord, and they are completely overjoyed in their faith. And then we have from the book of Revelation, it's a vision. It's a vision looking into the future, talking about the people who also have found faith in the Lord. And they are described as people in white robes. So if the people in white robes could please stand. Here they are, the people in white robes, and this is what it says about them in the scripture today. It says, their robes have been washed white. What? In what? In tide? No, not in holy water. Their robes have been washed white in what? In the blood of the Lamb. In the blood of the Lamb, which is Christ. He is the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Now tell me this, how can your robes become white if they're washed in blood? I don't get it. How can they be washed white if they're washed in blood? Isn't blood red? You have to think about that, come up with some answers today. Have a seat, okay? It's all symbolic. That's baptism. Been led to those waters of life, the last line says that. But your robes are washed white because you've been washed in the blood of the Lamb and given new life in Christ. Now, the gospel on this Sunday is always about the Good Shepherd from different sources. And in this cycle C, the year of Luke, we still hear John's gospel because John is the one who really focuses on the Good Shepherd. And in this very brief but beautiful passage, Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd. I call my sheep. They know me. They hear my voice. They follow. He says that I will preserve them from everything. I will save them. And also, no one can take them out of my hand. But not only that, the Father is greater than me, and no one will take them out of his hand. And then he says, because the Father and I are one. So he's saying all of us, especially those whose robes have just been recently washed in the blood of the Lamb, you're in the hands of God. And nothing can take you out of his hands. So the great juxtaposition today is we're celebrating Vocation Sunday through the whole world, praying for vocations, and we are also celebrating this month of child abuse prevention. And it's a very strange but a wonderful juxtaposition, especially given the history of the church in the last 20 years where we finally came to face a terrible sin in the church, where some priests were abusing children. What makes it so horrific is that priests have always been trusted. People were told that they were safe around priests. And some, very few, but one is enough, priests abused children and scarred their life forever. Forever. So we have finally faced it, and thanks be to God, we have. One of the responses that is such a blessing is that the bishops of the country, and this has happened worldwide in other nations too, where I think most nations have faced this, but the bishops of our country put together a program, Safeguard the Children. And the idea was to do everything we could do as church to be sure that this environment, the church environment, was a safe place for all of our children, that they could trust, and we could trust that they would be safeguarded. And one of the specific programs in the Safeguard the Children was called Virtus. And Virtus is a training program for all priests, for all religious, for all leaders and volunteers in the church. Wonderful. Because anyone who's volunteering, the ushers, the choir, anybody goes through Virtus. And Virtus teaches them to see the signs of predators, to recognize what predators do, because there's some obvious signs that often accompany their activity. And if we're all watching and seeing and noticing then our children will be safer. But here's the rub. It's very few priests, a tiny percentage, that have participated in sexual abuse. And as I said, even if it were one in the whole world, that would be just disgusting. But 85% of child abuse happens in families and among close friends of families. 85%. So who should be getting virtues training? Everybody. Everybody. Every single person, especially every parent, should know the signs. Now, I've never been a daddy, so I can't speak personally about having children, but I'll tell you, in the climate today, I wouldn't let my kids out of my sight for 5 minutes. But their family, too bad. I know the statistics. We need to know if we're going to provide safety for our children. So I hope in the next couple of years, every one of you, as we invite you to this program, will come to it. It's like a 2-hour program to receive the signs and to begin to understand how we can all together safeguard our children. Now, this is juxtaposed against this beautiful feast of the Good Shepherd. And in the feast of the Good Shepherd, where Jesus calls all of his sheep, he calls every single person here to a vocation. Not a vocation to priesthood and religious life, that's for some. And if it isn't for you and you become it, you probably won't be happy. There are a lot of people who become priests or sisters or brothers because their mom had a vocation. He said, I want a son who's a priest. So the son tries to please his mom, he goes into the seminary, becomes a priest, and is miserable because it was never his vocation. Anybody can learn the stuff, anyone can learn how to do it, but if at the core of your heart that isn't your call, and to know your call is mystery. It's a spiritual reality to listen deep in the Spirit to discover your call. Some people are called to be married. That's their vocation. Some are called to be single. And the single life is beautiful. I suspect that many a scientist, many a doctor, many people in some very specific areas of life that demand an enormous amount of their life and their discipline and their time, that because that is their primary gift in life, this area, maybe some artists, that they can't divide themselves. They can't really give themselves to their wife or husband. They are maybe perhaps called to the single life because of dedication to something they're doing. I was born in 1950, became a priest in 1976. And in 1950, in the 50s, divorce was against the law in the United States, in most countries. If you divorced, you were committing a crime. And somewhere in the 60s, I believe, the government of the United States decriminalized it, and divorce was able to be obtained even if the person you were divorcing didn't want the divorce. So you could apply for a divorce and get it even if the other one said, I want to stay married. Too bad. Now the statistics are something like 50% get married and it doesn't last. Incredible statistics. And among those who were most likely to divorce when I was young, doctors, especially in their early years of doctoring, because there was such an enormous amount of time and internship. It was unbelievable. And they were really married to their profession. That was their husband or wife. So then the husband or wife by marriage said, I'm jealous. Your spouse is getting everything, your first spouse, and I'm your second spouse. So many marriages fell apart. Another one, cops. Cops. One of the worst levels of divorce, not so much because of their time, but because of the psychology of it, the things they see, the things they deal with. And when their emotional, psychological lives are destroyed by the most horrific stuff in our society, what do they give to their spouse when they go home? There's nothing left. Sometimes it's just ugliness and bitterness, emptiness. And I'm not saying that about all police, but their work is very tough. And so it goes. Perhaps many people really are called to a single life, just don't know it. They think they should get married. And if you get married, boy, that call is very specific. And some people come to me and they say, Father Perry, as they're preparing for the marriage, can we rewrite the vows, make our own personal vows? And I say, I suppose you can, but you're going to have to find another priest because I won't let you do it. Father Perry. I say, no. The vows are very specific. This is what you say. The church wants you to hear what you're going to say. You say to your spouse, and they say to you, I promise you I will love you and honor you every day of my life till I die. I will love you and honor you. That means every single day you will honor your spouse. Now, sometimes people come up and kiss my hand, which I really don't care for, but that doesn't mean, whatever. But to me, that's what a spouse should do to the spouse, my beloved wife. Oh, my dear husband. Because in that simple gesture where you honor that spouse and their relationship to you, it should be daily, shown every single day. Now, what happens to many a couple that have even been married over 50 years, they say the words on their marriage day, I promise I will love you and honor you all the days of my life, but what they meant to say, they just didn't realize it was this, I promise I'll live with you, God, till I die. Because that's what they live out. That's what they do. But their vow was love and honor. It's an incredible life if two people do that and then live it. They're blessed every single day. And also with priesthood religious life. I knew this fact that I'm going to tell you, but I went and checked it out online because I didn't want to be giving you statistics that weren't true. And I knew that even as I was speaking, there could be some of you who would be doing your fact check. Let's see if he really knows what he's talking about, because Father Perry, please. So I checked it out and found out that my facts are indeed facts. And this comes from livescience.com. You can check that out too, livescience.com. And I'm going to tell you 5 of the top 10 professions that satisfy people the most. The survey reveals most satisfying jobs. It has a picture of a fireman. And it says in the opening paragraph of this, firefighters, the clergy, and others with professional jobs that involve helping or serving people are more satisfied with their work and overall are happier than those in other professions, according to the results of this survey. Why? It's obvious. When you serve other people's needs and you bring them happiness or peace or help them to resolve, you get satisfied right away. I've often said that if I had left the priesthood, I would have become a waiter, because you get immediate results. What would you like, ma'am? You'd like a steak, medium rare, a little pink in the center, with little onions and a lobster. Okay, steam. Oh, got it. I go off and I make sure it's done just to her likings, add a little frill on the side, maybe an edible flower or whatever, and I bring it back, and she, like this beautiful smile, here's your feel. How is it? She goes, oh my, OMG, it is good. And I cause that just by my service. And in an instant, I feel it. Well, people come in, and those that still trust priests, they do, I've often said, they let me walk in their soul. When people come in that trust priests, they come in and they spill all their guts. They say everything. And it's like they open their soul and say, Father, you can walk in my soul. So I take my shoes off. I say, oh, okay, thank you. And I tiptoe, wow, this beautiful soul. And they say things to me, and I say, oftentimes, especially when there's things of shame that people have carried and hidden for years, I'll say, have you ever told this to anybody? They're 45, and they say, no, Father. And it happened when you were 5, huh? 40 years you've carried this painfully? Never told a soul, never shared it? Oh, you must have hurt for 40 years. To tell you, to be able to be given the gift to touch a person's soul and to affirm them and help them find healing, whoa. Somebody says, do you like being a priest? Do I like being a priest? It's 39 years. Take me back 39 years. Would you do it again? In a heartbeat. It's incredible. So a boy comes up to me on Thursday evening here. We had this funeral for this 34 years young woman who had cancer. Incredible lady, incredible. And he says to me, Father, remember me? I was in your school, but I'm in Baldwin Park now. I said, yes. And he says, well, what grade are you? And I'm in 5th grade now. And I want to be a priest. I said, oh, that's nice. And why do you want to be a priest? And he shared a few things. And then he says, but I can't get married. I said, well, that's true. I said, but priesthood is very nice. Marriage is too. It can be. But it's hard. It is. You got to keep that wife and those children happy and help them. A lot of pressure, a lot of work, but it's a good life. It can be, but so is priesthood. Now, I believe that 5th grade, 4th grade is the most fertile land for a vocation. That's where everybody right here should be saying, have you ever thought of being a nun or priest? Just think about it. You never know. You could be like Father Perry. You could be his bishop one day. Tell him what to do. Yes. So the survey goes on, gives the top 10. These are the most gratifying jobs. I'll only read 5. Clergy of all religions, Jews, everyone. 87%. It's the most, 87% say it's the most satisfying. Firefighters, 80%. Physical therapists, 78%. People helping people get their physical body back in shape, so grateful. Authors, creators of stories, authors, 74%. Special education teachers, 70%, and then regular teachers, 69%. Imagine the ones who have, I would say, the toughest special education, they're even a percent happier than the regular teachers. More is demanded of them, and yet they find even more happiness. If I told you just a few of I'll give you 4 or 5 of the least gratifying jobs. Laborers except construction. I don't know all the reasons for this. I can guess. Apparel clothing salespersons. How's that? Hand packers and packagers. Food preparers. Roofers. Cashiers. These are the least satisfying. And then the ones who score on the highest on the happiness quotient. The highest. Clergy, firefighters, and it changes a little here. But anyway, those are the top 2. The top 2. On this Sunday, when we look at vocations, we're not looking just at priesthood, but this is the one I can speak to most personally because I've been a priest for 39 years. And I don't usually get up here and go on and on about my priesthood because usually the context is something else. It isn't so focused. But today it's Vocation Day of Prayer for Vocations for the whole world. Over 1 billion Catholics are praying this. And it's focused a lot on priesthood because one of the things that's happened over the last 25, 30 years is this. The population of Los Angeles has kept growing, as well as the Catholic population kept growing, and the priesthood number is decreasing. In the 60s, many priests left to get married, as did religious men and women, brothers and sisters. They left and got married. The numbers decreased, not quite by half, but close. So the numbers of priests have decreased as the population keeps increasing. Do you see the problem? This parish that had 3 priests at one time, 2 priests for many years, 1 priest and then a priest that lived in residence has 1 priest. Moi. I'm the only one. Do I want another one here? We couldn't afford them. And besides, I'm quite content. I love closing the world out about 8 o'clock at night. Goodbye, everybody. Close my doors and have some peace. This is what older people like, is a little peace. But there may come a day where in our 92nd year, this Feast of Bernard, in 8 years we'll celebrate 100 years, and it is not far-fetched to say, will there be even 1 priest here? Not threatening, it's just the reality. There are many parishes, Divine Savior, right next door are the priests for that parish and for St. Anne's. Many parishes that have priests for 2 parishes. There are several places in the diocese. One of my good priest friends, Father Gilbert, helps at a place called St. Marcellinus in Commerce, and he is a resident priest only for Masses, but a layman runs the parish, every aspect of it, every aspect. He is their lay priest. So it may happen. So the question I put before you on this World Day of Prayer for Vocations, what are you going to do about it? My only knowledge of a deacon that's actually been assigned here, he died last year or 2 years ago, I think, and I don't know how many years he was here, but there's no deacons. Nobody preparing to be a deacon in this parish. What is going on here? Nobody feels the call to enter the clerical life as a permanent deacon and to serve the church in that capacity? Unbelievable. I'm not criticizing or putting anyone down. I'm just saying, I can't believe that God is saying, I'm going to give vocations everywhere, but leave St. Bernard's out. There's no men that I could call. Impossible. We got to listen. No seminarians? I've been here 5 years, not one seminarian. What is this? So the one thing I can tell you is in 8 years, if we still don't have anyone preparing to be a permanent deacon or a priest or brother or sister, then I invite all of you to say, it's our fault. It's our fault. Not Father Perry's, it's our fault. Because I haven't asked anybody, I haven't told anybody you'd make a good sister, a good brother, or a good priest, a good missionary. Wow, a good missionary. You'd make a good monk. You go in a monastery, never talk again, ever. Not really. Another missionary right here. He's going to go to China, learn Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, and bring a whole bunch of people to Jesus Christ. Wash their robes white in the blood of the Lamb. He's going to do it. But if we don't invite, who's going to hear an invitation that's never given? And how many would invite their own sons? A lot of people say, well, we need more priests, but not one of my sons. I want grandchildren. My sister can ask hers, but I don't want to ask because I want grandchildren. On this feast of World Day for Prayer for Vocations, we're being asked to ask ourselves, as well as the people in our lives, have you ever considered it? Especially if we look at somebody and we see qualities that we know are really a part of what it means to be a priest, a brother, a sister, monk, whatever. Now on our website, Michael here is the one who always gives us these video reflections of the 9:30 Mass, and he maintains our website, which was down for a week, but it's back up. It was renewed this year. We redid it, and there's a lot of information available on it. And if you open up our website, very proud of it, on the right side, Michael's done this too, put all these little icons there, figures. There's these the hand that is on the sheet there for invitation to retreat. That's up there, and you can go online and register for the retreat online. Then right under that is a vocations icon. And if you open it up, there's about 6 or 7 little videos that I uploaded to Michael, who put it on there. And there's one, a day in the life of a priest. It goes through an ordinary day of an ordinary man who is an ordinary priest. And then there is a religious sister sharing her life, what it means to be a sister, a nun. There's monks, both male and female. There's missionaries. There's people who have heard a vocation, and they talk to you about what joy they get in their vocation as a priest or a religious. And I would invite everybody to go online and see them, hear them. Even if you say, I'm already married, or I have not even a remote interest in a vocation for me, but I want to be informed so that should I see the qualities in someone else, I could say, have you ever thought of being a religious sister? What about a missionary to Uganda? Who knows? Today, the Good Shepherd says, I am the Good Shepherd. I call my sheep. They hear my voice. They know me. They listen and they follow. Do we? Jesus, the Good Shepherd, never stops calling. And it is for us to hear the call, to listen, and to respond.